I'm very honored to be here and talk about the grant application. So before I start, I just kindly got a little bit idea how many of you have submitted one energy grant already? Wow, quite a bit. Okay, that's very nice. So today main focus say how we can maximize the impact score in an energy grant application. So grant application, we need two parts. One, we have a great idea. Without great idea, whatever you do, we cannot success. And the second is, after you have a great idea, we really need to have effective presentation. We need to understand who we are right for. We write for reviewers. We need to keep a reviewer in our mind when we start to write, when we start to form our ideas into the grant. So if either is missing, we really have a problem. First of all, we want to understand our readers, grant reviewer. Grant reviewer normally are very busy human beings, just like each of us. So they have reviewed a lot of proposals. I've been in the one of the panel, and they have like 30 of them. But I'm lucky. I was signing only like 6 to 7 of them to write the review comments. So basically they need to review each of the proposal, but they normally ask to write the critiques for 9 to 12 applications. So they may not, in the subject, may not export in your field, especially for NH I-15. So normally they are busy and they are in trouble. So we keep that in mind. What I have done is I have think about that, to think about how I can write more effectively. This is the something a reviewer need to complete. They need to write the strengths, weaknesses for each of 5 criteria. So what we're going to do is, I give you one example here is, we should have an introduction, then we should to state what's the significance for our contribution. So you basically write significant 1, you directly tell them what it is about and why. And follow that, you write 2, what's your significance and why. And then you go on. You may have 1, you may have 2, you may have 3, you may have more. But normally, only 1 of them may not satisfy them. So we have to think about how we can format this to meet their expectation. Quickly, when they start to write their critiques, you quickly to move your 3 significance to their strengths. In that way, it's very easy for the reviewer capture what's the strengths about. But this is the writing structure I'm talking about. I'm trying to maximize the review, trying to help a reviewer to read quickly and efficiently. And if we're not doing good job, I'm sorry, this, okay, I will talk about that part in the next one. And this is the writing structure I used. Actually, from first submission, I got an impact score 35. To the second, I got an impact score as 10. I didn't change anything. The only thing I changed is writing structure. The only thing I changed, I didn't change any contents because I thought I have a great idea. The only problem is they don't understand what I'm trying to say. Either it's too fast, or somehow they just couldn't get what I want to say. The other difference is the second run, I invite a consultant be my team because it's I-15. This is not working, and this is working. And right now I only as a biostatistician, I only have one sample size. So hopefully you can join us and we can to say it works or not. So today I'm going to talk about NIH grant review system a little bit. Then I will talk about review. Actually, we talked about it already. And we're trying to use the two kind of information to see how can help us to write grants. And the second, I want to share with you a writing structure can help review quickly to get what we're trying to say. And then, as a biostatistician, I used to work in the Mayo Clinic for almost 8 years. I help them to do study design and biostatistic, some testing or analysis. So I will talk about that too. And last, I will share some tips and strategy and to help us success in the grant application. This is the NIH 9-point scoring system. You look at 5. 5 is good. Apparently, good is not enough. If we got an impact score at 50, we have no chance. So only chance is top 2. 1 is exceptional strong, and 2 is extreme strong. You really look for best of best. We couldn't take any chance. We couldn't take any long shot. So this is a picture I downloaded from a website. This is what happened in the, that's what it looked like the NIH studies section. And the process is, I have been in one of this kind of review panel. So first, they ask the 3 reviewers comments on your proposal, what's the strength, what's the weakness. Then second reviewer, then third reviewer. And each reviewer will give a score, is 1, 2, or 3. And then open for the discussion. And most other reviewers may not have the chance to read your proposal. Most of the discussion, in my experience, is very short. And then after discussion, reviewer will be asked, will be put another score. Did you change your mind and change it from 2 to 1? And after that, and the officer will ask each of the reviewer send a score. So some give you 1, some give you 2, then calculate the average times 10. That's your impact score. If you luckily the first round you got a 1, 1, 1, and then you got a perfect score. And if you got a 1, 1, 2, and after discussion you got a 1, 1, 1 again, and you probably is the best score you can get is a 10. Again, we'll look at this guy again because this is really our readers. And this is the only slides in this presentation show twice. Okay, after that, we started to look at how we can formulate the 5 review criteria, and the significance and innovation. And most of the time, we kind of got a little bit confused what's the difference between them. And I review some of the proposals. Most people kind of repeat some significance into their innovation. So significance actually talk about the impact of something will have all other things. But innovation is from a different angle. They talk about a new and a substantive different way to consider or address something which opens a new horizon. It's a total different thing. So I use different symbol to represent the significance and innovation. No overlapping when you talk about significance and innovation. And it's not working in this 3 ways. You cannot one include other or they overlap too much. You have to be separate because each of them will count 20% of your score. You add up, it's 40%, almost half. this is working. So let's talk about the significance core review criteria. So the NIH reviewer really want to look at, does the project address an important problem or critical barrier to progress in the field? Is there a strong scientific promise? This is new. This actually, to my understanding, is from last year or the year before last year. They really look at is your proposal really improve the scientific knowledge, technical capacity, or clinical practice? And they also want to look at if successful, is anything here have been improved. So when we write the significance, we need to keep this 1, 2, 3, 4 in our mind. Is anything of my project or our project or your project meet one of the criteria? And this is how you format your language. This is how you format your writing. Sorry. So the purpose for the significance recognition is, one, they have to justify the need. If no need, they don't give you money to do it. That's very simple. And the second is, they want to look at your scientific promise. This is the new criteria for NIH grants. And the NIH reviewer have been instructed to look at scientific promise specifically. And they also inform the reviewer why your research contribution is expected to significant. So this is significant, the score review criteria want to look at. They want to write 3 or 4 itemized strengths and a few itemized weaknesses. We need to keep that in mind. We also need to keep the reviewer, their status in our mind. So how are we going to write? First, you just write an introduction because not everyone familiar what you're trying to do. And then this is what the scientific promise actually is new. This is what I'm trying to do. I will put the second scientific promise after the introduction. And since the FOA, they have their mission. That's why they have their FOA. That's why I want to propose something to fit that FOA. You guys actually matched. So if they have a new FOA announced, they must something needed to be addressed. And since if that is true, and we have our project, we have great ideas fit that FOA. So that's the place you want to emphasize the FOA, what they expect us to do. And after that, you need to justify why you want to do this. So the scientific promise, one is overall, the whole project. And second, if you're doing large grant like I-01, even I-15, you probably want to justify each M2. Because the NIH really pay a lot of attention on this. And next, we need to write down what's the significance. We write straightforward. We directly tell them what it is and why. We tell them what it is we expect them put what is in the strengths. And we put why there. We're trying to convince the viewer it's true. So we have 1, we have 2, we have 3. It really depends on what kind of grant you want to write. If small grant, if 1 or 2 is fine, but you look a big grant, you probably write 3, because most reviewer will wrote 2 to 4 or even 5 strengths for each criteria. So that's how matched. If we are not doing good job, you directly put your 1 significance to the weakness. So we have to do the good job. we have to think about what's the significance why we have 3 of them. So this is the writing structure I proposed, and we're trying to help the reviewer read quickly and efficiently. Again, for the 3, we can talk about 3 significant subsections. We again talk about what's the relationship between the 3 subsections. The 3 should be independently and separately. But if one includes the other or 2 overlap too much, it's not working. You will put the reviewer off, especially for the one include others. They say you have talked about it already. Why do you say again? So in that case, it's very hard for that person to give you score at 1. And the scientific premise I want to mention here because it's so important now. Scientific premise is the scientific foundation. It must be reliable, and is kind of interested to NIH at this moment, and since the last 1 or 2 years. And we also need when we write scientific premise, we need to consider the strengths and the weakness of published research and the data you have to support your application. So in that case, we need to write strengths and weakness for other work. We have to write positively and constructively. Why? Because maybe one of the reviewer is the other. Even not. Maybe their colleagues or something they really have respect for. And the next one I want to say, try and avoid signing review articles. Review articles is very hard to say what's the strengths and weakness. It's really hard for you to say. And review papers, review articles was most likely written by these guys because they are expert already. But at the same time, we want you to cite the paper they have write. You may want to ask me how I can know who is my reviewer. You know. Because you can find out from the NIH website. You can say, well, my proposal go to review. You have a special panel. The panel name is there. You can check on our web page. You find out, at least you find these people for last year. So we have talked about the significant already. Second review criteria is the investigator, PI. And the first thing, we want to make sure the PI, collaborators, and other research is well suited for this project. And if we are new investigator, we need to make sure we have the correct or right experience and training. And our expertise are matched. You can do this, I can do that, we can put it together as a team. And again, before we write, we need to do a little bit of analysis. So first thing you want to ask yourself is, what kind of expertise need for this project? You need itemized. You need statistical parts. You need data management expertise. And for me, you need osteoporosis, domain knowledge, or need something else. You have to itemize it. Then you say, what do we have? If you have, you put it in box sketch. It's yours or your team member. If now, you need to seek for different people who has the expertise, so then can put it together as a team. So this actually is for my project. Yeah, my project, we need statistical modeling. We need the management scale for big data. We need the domain knowledge for bone density, and we need the domain knowledge for osteoporosis. You can put all the pieces together, become a perfect team. So now I talk about the biostatistician, as I am one of them. So we can help you, and all biostatisticians can help you with study design and sample size justification and power analysis, and the data analysis plan, management plan, and how to interpret the results. And also we help you address other statistical issues. So when we write for review, to my knowledge, is almost all the NIH review panel has one or two statisticians. Some section has more. It really depends. Is epi section or statistical section that they have more. And most reviewers, they're pretty successful in the grant writing. They have certain statistical expertise already. So I believe very few projects or applications will be successful without biostatistical expertise. Biostatistics also can help you to shape the direct research question, and we can also design the study scope, consider the funding limitation. And most often, the new PI think about the thing is huge. Maybe a few $1 million can do that. But most of the I-15, I-21, and even I-3 have very small amount. So biostatistician can work with you to redefine study scope. Also, the same thing, we can reduce the sample size, and with the design, with scope, we can consider the costs, the patient number, and the source. We can justify sample size for you. So I talk about a little bit about the biosketch. The first, we have to know the NIH mandatory requirement, and the new requirement is 5-page. And they have template on the NIH website. And firstly, you need to think about the expertise and experience they matched and make a perfect team. And second, I would like to say you need to justify each member is a need for the project. It's not because he or she is a friend or leaders, you just be nice to include them. That's not working. And for early stage status, we need to talk about the research, training, and a lot of even the mentor. And when you write about sketch, really a kind of double-edged sword. You don't want to say some subjective word how good you are. You need to stick objective, defend the fact to the viewer. Otherwise, it's really easy to put them off. So have a few well-written distribution is very important in the scientific contribution. Again, most objective, specific, and credible. And I use the NIH website. They have one tool called My Bibliography. So they can help you to do the publication list. Sometimes I saw the new investigator only have 2 or 1 publication list, and in each scientific contribution, you can actually use more than once, even you have 1, as long as related. So some new investigators look for the publications. That's what I have done. I think the systematic review and meta-analysis is easy to do. You don't require funds. You don't need any facility, as long as you have a computer, and even you don't require IRB approval. And you can publish it very easily. And my group work on the meta-analysis. Even I'm teaching meta-analysis course this semester, almost done, but I do quite a bit of that kind of work. And for the new investigator, if you don't have funds, you don't have much resource, if you really want to focus on publication, and this is one way to do it. Okay, next I will talk about innovation core review criteria. So they really look for is the application challenge or seek shift current research or clinical practice paradigm. And is anything new to the field or the new to the in the broad sense. most likely you should talk about two of them, both of them. Not only new in your field, you need to talk about, so if successful, what's the impact in broader sense? And is a refinement, improvement on the new application of the concept, approach, and the innovation proposed. So this actually is review criteria. Again, it's similar to the significance. When you write, when you develop this section, you need to keep this criteria in your mind. I use the same strategy. Again, when the reviewer look at the strengths for your innovation, they have 1, 2, and 3. You can do the same thing. After introduction, what's the current status for the methodology? Then you say what kind of innovation you have. You have 1, 2, and you can have 3 too. And then when you think about the innovation 1, innovation 2, innovation 3, you say what? Tell them what it is. They maybe just copy from yours to their review section. And why you not just tell them what, you're trying to convince them as it is true. If you are done to do a good job, you quickly to move one section to the weak list. And when you write the 3, also think about the last slide where I talk about. They have 3 review criteria. So you really doesn't have much room to move back and forth. So you have review criteria, you have this format, and everything you want to do is you want to do the analysis. What the 2 or 3 innovation is and why. Again, we have to do the analysis, the contents. This 3 or 2 is related, but independent. It's separate. If they overlap too much, you will put the reviewer off. They probably really quickly to say, hey, you say you have 2. I thought you just repeat yourself. So the one is working, the other 2 is not working. Now I talk about the approach is a little bit complicated for approach, and different proposals really have different approach. So it's hard to say, but I will try my best. And the approach is strategy, methodology, and analysis, and it's the design and method. And the new review criteria mentioned, you have to achieve, how you achieve robust and unbiased results. And the most problem the new investigator have is they fail to address or missed address the potential problem, alternative strategy. So you have one section talk about it. And we also need to talk about the benchmark for success and how to manage the high risk aspect of the early stage project. And the biological variable is the kind of justification is the new NIH review criteria. So this is a kind of example of the writing structure. You have EGM, and you have introduction, have research design, and expect outcome. After you do this, what's the expected outcome? Then you talk about the potential problem and alternative strategy. Then talk about the timeline and benchmark of success. And the last section talk about the future direction. You kind of follow, follow this. And this is one example I did it. And this actually came from my, no, it's not my 15 is my second grant I just submit. So I add something called scientific rigor before we even study the specific aims. Because NIH emphasized it. So we put that section at the very beginning after the title of approach. You talk about how you do it. What kind, did you estimate your sample size? Did you do power analysis? and how to ensure the scientific rigor in each of M. You just need one paragraph. And then you talk about what kind of biological variable you include. Because these two items is a new NIH review criteria have been emphasized already. Then you, again, you see M1, M2. M1 have objective and rational and preliminary data, research design. Research design have many sections. And then you talk about what's expected outcome is similar to the slide I have talked about. The one thing I'm trying to emphasize is this is what I do. Each subsection, each paragraph, I write less than 7 lines. Because too much, they don't have patience to read it. Sometimes they want to just read the title, or something you talk about already, and I'm pretty satisfied what you say. They quickly help them to move to next section. Maybe it's easy for them, so we help them to move quickly. So this is another example in one of my proposal. So for research design section, we talk about data source. I'm doing secondary data analysis and how to prepare the data and what's including, excluding criteria and how to do the sample size and power analysis, how to manage the data, how to do the statistical parts, how to do the modeling, and what's the candidate model, and how we can find out what's the best model. So the idea here is we have a flow writing. We have to create a multiple subsection for easy to read. We help them to read it more efficiently. So the one thing I want to a little bit emphasize is the importance of preliminary data. I would say each M, you at least have one fake preliminary data to support. And you can use the startup funds to do a little bit of research. You can produce this kind of data from collaboration, and you can also do it by yourself, do a secondary data analysis. You have to have some kind of data for the feasibility. For statistical approach, and probably we need to seek input from biostatistician. We need to state what's the methodology you use, what kind of modeling method, how you calculate the variance and outcome, how you evaluate the outcome, and what's the alternative. So the picture is worth 1,000 words. I mean, I think the picture will help the reviewer. They will love to see the pictures instead of the reading. So this, I just give you a few examples I have. And this is talk about the M and the future research. I have the M1, have M2, and how start from there to the future. And this normally this kind of grant is kind of small and grants. And the second example I talk about, second example is sample size and power analysis. And for sample size and power analysis, you not just calculate one sample size, one power analysis. That's not sufficient. Because every sample size calculation, every power analysis, you hold certain assumption. That assumption you think could be true, but a reviewer maybe have a different opinion. You have to move around your assumption to calculate a different sample size, then look at the sample size you have made the study lead. So actually, from here, we have the different assumption and the sample size from 1,000 to 2,000. Now, if I have sample size 2,500, that justification should be sufficient. In this side, I'm doing again, VRF also could be different from 3 to 6. If the VRF going differently, how the sample size will change the power. So in that way, the reviewer well satisfied because even you change a lot of condition, the final sample size still enough. So this is one from my copy grant. Is a little bit too colorful, but I think this the picture help reviewer to say a timeline and how after you finish the M1 to M3, you go into something else. You have certain funds, and when you renew it, and what kind of grant you plan to do. Because the corporate grant require project leader to be successful in 3 to 5 years. This is basically so I will briefly talk about something I'm very interested in. Dr. Greg probably have more. I love this one because this is kind of formula to write specific M's. You have identified gaps, and then you talk about your objective, then your central hypothesis, then 3 or 4 or 2 specific M's. And lastly, you talk about your expected outcome. You follow the flow is easy, will help us to write this section. So a few tips here is one, the open sentence. You look for to hook the viewer attention, and also you have to underline the long-term goal and overall objective, central hypothesis, and specific aims, and expected outcome. If one of them is missing, the reviewer most likely will look back and forth to say, where is your hypothesis? So then, after you did all of them, the last sentence or last paragraph, you need to talk about something positive impact. So give the when people after read at the end of the end page, they have they feel positive about your proposal, and it's very important. You need to send your end page to different people to get the feedback. So we learn from failure, not from success. And when I was in the mail, I support about 3 research groups, about 10 to 12 departments. I have a team. I have a few biostatisticians work with me. We submit a proposal 30 every year. And 8 years, we submit 100 to 300. But we only success is 40 to 50. So everyone, I cannot learn many years to be success. I want a short. So how we can learn quickly? And this is something somewhere. I love this website. They actually list all the common mistakes there already. You just review each of them to make sure you don't make that mistake. You have much chance to be success. I use that kind of trick to do most other things, like apply a job, apply to school, apply green card, or everything else. I will look the web page where have the common mistake it is. Make sure I don't do it. So they have a lot of stuff over there. This is just 2 slides, give you an example. So you certainly can look at the link. This one is a new NIH review criteria. So they have 4 of them. Scientific premise, we have talked about already, and we want to make sure the results is robust and unbiased. And the third is biological variable, and the 3 and 4 I don't do much for now because I'm focused on the secondary data analysis. Probably if you do the original investigation, you need to look at this 3 and 4. Now I'm talking about the NIH grants. So NIH grants, NIH I-15, they really support good research, small scale good research. It is a research grant, it's not a training grant. And the second goal is export students to research. And the third is strength research environment. We need to keep the 3 goals in mind to write our I-15. Why we want to do that? So it's less competitive because many schools qualify, like a top 1 school are not qualify. Expectation is lower and small scale, easy to handle, and it's a very good start for new PI. And we are qualified. So remember, the goal for I-15 is what we need to include the student here. We need to talk about how we supervise students, how to involve them, how our research impact student and the environment, and how we can stimulate their research interest. And we also need to talk about the PI mentoring experience and philosophy, and the student measure and availability, and student seminars, workshop, and conference. So every piece kind of put together how we can export your student to research, how we can enhance research environment. So for the student part, we need to talk about the demographic of the student, how many enrolled, how many graduates with a degree, or advanced degree, or bachelor degree, and how many kind available for you for this project. And we also need to talk about the PI experience in supervising student. You can talk about the research strategy in last piece. After you finish all the M's, you can start to talk about your experience, how you work with them, and the personal statement, the summary of personal statement. And you can also put one section in the scientific contribution. So this is 3 places you can mention, or you can use for your experience in supervising student. I was asking for, what if I have no official mentoring experience and no undergraduate student? Should I still qualify or still able to apply I-15? I would say yes, I don't have. When I work in the mail, I don't officially mentoring any student. I work with the master level professional. But I have experience to work with the graduate student, even I'm not the mentor. And I work with the graduate student too, even I'm not the mentor. I'm a part of the team. So we can mention that experience too. And second, you can start have them now, and until your grant submission probably takes 6 months. You can mention it. You say this past 6 months or 1 year, what you have done. You don't need a publication to show. You may just a poster or conference presentation. That's progress. So I did that way. I think the real are perfectly okay. And one very useful tip for I-15 application is add one external consultant from a top-tier university in your field. Basically, you don't trust us. If you add someone in your team, looks likely they will believe your proposal is good because that person at least agree to be your consultant. So that's very useful. Last section, I will talk about the submission, and where most time and very often, first submission is not successful. Resubmission, we need to be very high responsive to reviewer comments, and we need to address each critique. If possible, you don't need to do every of them. If it's smaller errors, you just fix it. But for measure, or if it's possible, you use the independent paragraph or a fake to address their comments, address their concern. They will love that. And something else I think we need to ensure ourselves understand what's their concern. Sometimes they are busy, they write quickly, they write just something in their mind, they don't have time. So most often, we are not understand what they really concerned about. It is true. In that case, we need to discuss it with other senior investigator. What are they trying to say? What is the concern about? And sometimes you have a good idea, but they didn't, because the writing issues, they don't understand. In that case, we really need to write it clearly. So this is the question I have. I was in the Grand Club for a while, and we have a kind of debate to say how we're going to organize introduction page. This is just one page response to the comments from reviewer. And option one is you address the most problem, most crucial comments first. The second option is someone tell me is we have to put the best response first. Because you put the best response, they thought, oh, you did very well, the probably just skip the rest. I think both are okay. I tried the third one. So you look at the scoring review criteria, they're doing the same thing. They will still say 5 criteria. They will look for strengths and weaknesses. Corresponds to that, that's the format I use for my introduction. I have a little bit of introduction, about 2-3 sentences or 4 or 5. Really depend on what kind of problem you're trying to address. Then in the one page, I have 5 rest sections. I will tell them what's the significant problem and how I have addressed, and so on. And I think that's good. Also, a good strategy is the reviewer will doing the same thing as you do. So they will help them to say, they try to identify the problem is in the significant section have been satisfied, or in the approach section you have satisfied. So this is the one way, a different way to do it. I'm not saying it's the best way, but it's the way I have been doing. For the ideas, we talk about the how to writing most. At the beginning, we talk about the successful grant have 2 parts. One is effective presentation, another is good idea. I mentioned a little bit about this. Is first step, we need to define the area we want to do, and most of us have know already. And then analysis the background information, and you can generate some data, and then you need to think about the ideas and to see is durable or not. You also can talk to your mentor or senior investigator and trying to refine the ideas. And then I think that's the way we can have a good, a best idea. I have a little bit of tips for this one. I talk about what I thought. And one I thought is a great idea is to challenge existing guideline. What kind of field you are in, they always have all kind of guideline to say how you should do it in your medical practice or in your practice. Imagine that a guideline was existing 50 years ago or 30 years ago, and with the time, they always changed. And now is the best time to do this. So in past, they use this is all we have in the past. So that's the technology we have, this methodology we have, that's the resource we have. So use that kind of resource to develop a guideline always has limitations. But a guideline is guideline. They have right there. Imagine from now, after 30 years, the guideline changed. Why? Because it doesn't fit anymore. Because we have more data. So we have the advanced modeling scale, we have the big data, we have the supercomputing facility, and we have DNA information. So if in your field you are the best person to know which guideline doesn't fit for certain people, and if you can identify and you use this new resource to change it, I think it's probably is a good idea. Actually, my I-15 is related to this. So lastly, a quick summary, and we kind of trying to understand readers, the grant reviewer, keep them in mind how to write our application, and effective writing structure for good presentation. And hopefully you realize the important role of the methodology person, a biostatistic person, to ensure the scientific rigor. And I also talk about a few strategies and hopefully can improve the overall impact score. I think that's pretty much for me. Thank you.